ערב טוב ושלום חברים. אני הולך לדבר באנגלית ואני אשתדל לדבר לאט ואני ממש מתרגש להיות כאן. אנחנו חיכינו המון זמן להגיע הרגע הזה ולא רק הערב הזה. Vice President for Resource Development and Public Affairs, Mr. Jeff Kay, Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, Professor David Zetchting, Director of the Sephardic Studies Research Center, Dr. Eliezer Papo, Executive Director of the Committee of the Eidah Sfaradit and Eigot HaMizrach in Jerusalem, Mr. Abraham Cohen, Don Abraham Cohen,
Shalom.
Don Abraham Shalom, Irit Cohen, Special Envoy of the Navon family, the Director of the Yitzchak Navon School in Meitab. This evening's second laureate, Mr. Mishael Ben Melech, distinguished members of the Boxer family, esteemed guests from Canada and from around the world, and colleagues. My name is David Burson, and I am the son of the late Sima Ferris Hakohen Burson of Calcutta, India, and Harold Reuben Burson of Calgary, Canada. May he live a long life. For the past 10 years, I have served as the Executive Director of Ben-Gurion University of the Negev in Western Canada. Tonight, it is my sincere honor to introduce Dona Regina Franco-Boxer to this distinguished audience on the occasion of the knighting ceremony. I will be integrating a few pictures that pay tribute to Regina in the past and in the present and her connections to her Sephardic culture. So it is my sincere honor to introduce Dona Regina Franco-Boxer to this distinguished audience on the occasion of the knighting ceremony of the Yitzchak Navon Order of the Knights of Ladino being held here in Beersheba, the capital of the Negev, Birat HaNegev, maybe Abirat HaNegev, on the Marcus family campus of Ben-Gurion University of the Negev at the finale of Ben-Gurion's 53rd Board of Governors meetings. One might ask how a young woman from Sao Paulo, Brazil, ended up as a founder of a Canadian group supporting an Israeli university in the desert named after Israel's first prime minister. Regina Franco-Boxer's story touches on many continents, countries, and cities, and includes some very special individuals. Regina Renee Franco was born to Shem Tov Franco of Izmir, Turkey, before moving to Sofia, Bulgaria, after a big earthquake, and to Margarita Mezan Franco of Plovdiv, Bulgaria. Regina's grandparents were involved in the textile industry dealing with silk and in tweed. In 1936, Shem Tov and Margarita were married in Sofia, Bulgaria. Each of the families lived a Jewish life in the Ottoman Empire where they were well received, but as a precaution, families and members of the Jewish community always wanted to have a plan B, which was a Western passport. Regina's parents chose to get Italian passports. In 1942, they moved from Bulgaria to Italy, where they settled in Livorno or Leghorn. To this day, there is a Franco palace there. The Italian Western passport didn't work out so well, with Italy being part of the Axis. And when Regina's parents fled to South America with their son Enrique, they weren't welcomed in Brazil. Thus, they moved to Uruguay, where later that year, in Montevideo, Regina was born. In 1944, back in Italy, Regina's maternal grandmother was taken to Auschwitz, where she perished. Her grandfather went back to Milan and survived until 1952. Just a year later, in 1945, the family of Regina moved to Brazil, where she grew up. And this was the coat of arms of the Franco family from 1759. And Dr. Papo got very excited when he saw it. In 1960, Regina took a break from her studies at the Sorbonne in Paris to travel to Israel, where she was introduced to Joseph Boxer in the Dan Hotel in Tel Aviv. Joseph had grown up in Harbin, China, before moving to Vancouver, Canada. I wasn't allowed to write down what happened at the Dan Hotel, but 2 years later they were married and settled in Vancouver. Some years later, Regina's brother-in-law, also from Harbin, was recovering from surgery in New York and spotted a childhood friend as he walked along the hospital corridor. It was Yosef Tekoa, who had made Aliyah and had not only become Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, but also David Ben-Gurion's favorite diplomat, and upon retirement, the second president of Ben-Gurion University in the Negev. Soon after this, Yosef Tekoa came to Vancouver to visit his childhood friends from Harbin and invited them to Israel and to visit the university. In 1976, a trip was planned for the bar mitzvah of Regina and Joseph's son, Jake. And along with their daughters, Melissa and Selena, they visited Masada, the Kotel, and other sites, and finally the university and Beersheba. As you know, July in Beersheba is very hot. During the visit to BGU and the university, the boxer's daughter, Selena, who's here with us tonight, stepped on the scorching hot sand and cried, with Regina's accent, "Is this Moses' sand?" That was the moment that crystallized the feelings that Regina and Joseph had for Israel, the Negev, and for BGU. A few years later, Ambassador President Tekoa visited Vancouver again, bringing Baroness Rothschild as his guest, and Regina and Joseph appealed to the Vancouver Jewish elite to learn more about this new university in the desert. Interest was nurtured and a chapter was formed, and sometimes later a gala event was held featuring General Shlomo Gazit, who played a major role in the rescue at Entebbe and later served as the third president of Ben-Gurion University. Canadian Associates of Ben-Gurion University, the Negev, became well established in Vancouver, and I found going through Regina's things a letter that she received from Shlomo Gazit when he was the president. Regina has had a lifelong relationship with Ben-Gurion University, and together with her late husband Joseph, was an early founder of the organization in Western Canada. Joseph Boxer passed away 34 years ago this past Monday. Regina has maintained her commitment to BGU and has been a stalwart supporter of BGU Canada. In 1993, the Joseph Boxer Lecture Hall in the Building 72, the Kukir Goran Goldstein Humanities and Social Sciences Building, was inaugurated. Following that, Regina helped welcome Ben-Gurion University's 5th president, Avishai Braverman, and hosted BGU's 6th president, Rivka Karmi, on her visit to Vancouver in 2014. On many occasions, Regina has graciously opened her home and beautiful garden to BGU's Vancouver Summer Barbecue and other events. Regina has received BGU's 7th president, Professor Daniel Chamovitz, and Vice President Jeff Kay in Vancouver too. And this is a picture of Rivka Karmi and our late CEO, Mark Mendelson, who I'll mention in a second, with snow in the background. Regina's love of Sephardic culture, Israel, the fine arts, dance, and music reverberates throughout her life. Regina's vision for the future of Ben-Gurion University includes an expanded Sephardic Studies Research Institute, which will engage students and researchers in deepening their knowledge about Sephardic culture and heritage. Regina is passionate about Sephardic music, literature, and art. She has traveled and immersed herself in her Spanish, Italian, and Bulgarian roots, taking her family with her to learn and experience the beauty of these countries and these roots. She speaks Spanish, Ladino, as well as French, Italian, Portuguese, and some Russian. In honor of her 80th birthday, Regina asked her friends, her family, and her guests, instead of making gifts, to make a donation to Ben-Gurion University's Sephardic Studies Research Center. Regina is forever grateful, and this was her birthday party. Regina is forever grateful to BGU Canada's beloved CEO and her dear friend, the late Mark Mendelsohn Zal, for putting Ben-Gurion University back on the map in Canada and for re-establishing a chapter in Metro Vancouver. She is honored that Mark's wife, Edna Mendelsohn, can be here this evening. While Regina became a member of BGU's Board of Governors in 2016, this was her first time attending board meetings since joining. And Regina is here this evening with her children, Jake and Selena. We will see in a second a couple more pictures. This was Regina in 2016 when she became a member of the Board of Governors. Regina, your children, Melissa, your granddaughters, Jordana, Michaela, Jacqueline, and Sienna, and all of the family send their love and a big mazel tov to you.
Queriendo demostrar nuestra admiración de su pasión por la cultura sefaradí, expresar nuestro sincero reconocimiento de su apoyo continuo a la Universidad de Ben-Gurion y manifestar nuestra profundísima apreciación por su magnánimo sostén a nuestro instituto, el sostén que posibilita la aparición anual del presente Journal de Estudios Sefaradís, el mantenimiento de nuestros congresos internacionales anuales y la entrega de premios anuales para magistrantes y doctorantes extraordinarios, el Instituto de Estudios Sefaradís de la Universidad Ben-Gurion del Negev le otorga a la Dona Regina Franco-Boxer este Orden de la Caballería del Ladino al nombre del Don Isaac Navon de bendicha memoria, el cinquén presidente del Estado de Israel, uno de los iniciadores del Centro Moshe David Gaon de Cultura Judeo-Española, presentemente parte del Instituto de Estudios Sefaradís, dado aquí, en la ciudad bíblica de Beersheba, este día 27 de Iyar, 5783 de creación del mundo. Doctor Eliezer Papo, Don Erez Navon.
Now we should take a picture with our other caballeros from previous years. Oh. And here is for you. There is a Ladino version, but that one you will read at home. And now it's time for the words of the new Cavalera, Dona Regina. Okay. Thank you.
רגע.
עוד אחת. טוב. Dona Regina, the floor is yours.
Okay. I salute you. Can you keep these for
I turned it off. 1 second. Just push the button.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Distinguished faculty, distinguished guests, Professor Eliezer Pablo, and Vice President Jeff King. Shalom, everyone. We all say the same thing, that it's an honor and a privilege to receive such an award. It was very unexpected that it will be this year. My journey to be here in Beersheba has been a long, long one. The first time I visited was in 1958, on my 16th birthday. We have the Sweet 16, and my father brought me to Israel. Beersheba was just a market with Bedouins and camels. I have a picture of me on the camel. My second visit was in 1960, when I attended the Sorbonne for the winter break. Coming from Brazil, December and January is our summer, but winter break in the Sorbonne. And we came to Israel. It was very peculiar, my trip to Israel. It was not planned. We were walking in France, in Boulevard Haussmann, and it was very, very cold. And of course, my cousin and I, who was studying in Paris, wanted to go skiing. So I borrowed jackets and sweaters, etc., and we were going to go the next day to St. Moritz. We were very excited. My uncle wasn't too pleased with this idea. He wanted to go to Nice. And we said, this is for old people, sorry, we don't want to go to Nice. Walking on Boulevard Haussmann, he sees a beautiful poster. I thought it was Coppertone. It wasn't. It was Elal advertising, come to the Holy Land, spend the Christmas holidays in the Holy Land. This is in France. My uncle walks in and comes out with 4 tickets. And that's how, on January 4th, 1961, I came to Israel. The first day in that hotel, I met my husband-to-be. He was wearing a Canadian, a blazer with a Canadian maple leaf. And very arrogantly, he said, you wouldn't know anything about Canada. I said, as a matter of fact, I know. My brother was studying in New Brunswick. Oh, and I know Vancouver too. His eyes just, and he mumbled under his breath, a shrimp like you knows about Vancouver? And I said, yes, I do. I was very arrogant and very petulant that he would undermine. Anyhow, to cut the story short, he came to Brazil, and I came to Vancouver in 1962, and we got married in 62. My journey to Beersheba, besides the family history, is my love for Israel, my love for Sephardic tradition, my love of family, my love for the university. We say that there is a saying that you treat family like friends and friends like family. And I really feel that here in this room, we are all family. And thank you. I thank you for that. Even though I'm wearing this, and I was wearing, I to a shield. I didn't fight in a war. I fell in Tel Aviv on the pavement, and that's why I have stitches and I hardly can walk. So forgive me if I'm a little slow. What can I say? My parents were very traditional. My grandparents very traditional. My grandfather was born in Smyrna and my grandmother in Istanbul. On my mother's side, they were born in Plovdiv, Bulgaria. And in 2019, I visited Bulgaria and I went to the synagogue in Sofia where my parents were married. And to my surprise, I found the house where they lived. And it is a small synagogue, Sephardic synagogue in Plovdiv. And I was so taken that the older people are not being really looked after the way that they should. The young people move to Sofia or to bigger cities or to Israel, to the States. So I established in the memory of my parents a kitchen, a soup kitchen that they would have a hot meal once or twice a week at that small synagogue, and I'm very proud of that. I'm really here to honor my parents, my grandparents, my ancestry. David made a few mistakes, and I will correct one of them. Back in Turkey, long time ago, I think in the 1700s, they always wanted to have a foreign passport, just in case. And we say Latino, il turco no harba il giudio, ma si lo harbo. A Turk will not beat up a Jew. But what about if he does? So we better be safe and have a plan B. So as soon as they have a few dollars or shekels or whatever, liras, they would send their sons to different countries. And part of my family was sent to Manchester because of wool and tweed, part to Lyon because of silk, part to Como. To cut the story short, the family established themselves in Livorno, which was called Leghorn. And Leghorn was a free port, no taxes, etc. Interestingly enough, nobody was ever born in Italy. They only had those papers just in case. In Bulgaria, when the war broke out, you know that the Bulgarian community came intact to Israel, to Jaffa. They were not sent to concentration camps. King Boris protected them. But you had to go back to your country of origin. Because of the Italian papers, they had to go back to Italy, and from Italy to South America. Being Italian and a Jew did not help the entry into South America, and that's why we ended up in Montevideo where I was born. During my formative years, my parents were very, very protective. My brother was born in Bulgaria, I was born in Montevideo, and the Shaliach would come from Israel and say, "What are you doing here? You're la creme de la creme of the Jewish people. Come to Israel, come to Israel." And it was a Shomer Hatzair, a very left-wing party. And my parents did not allow me to come to Israel. They says, "No, we lost enough people in the war, you're not going." Little did they know that my dream was to come one day and stay in Israel. And I hope once my grandchildren finish university that we will all come and spend a year in Israel. And maybe they'll have a master's or whatever in Beersheba at Ben Gurion. And it's been a privilege and an honor to be here today. Thank you so much.